Welcome to the Undrafted Armchair Quarterbacks. We're Jim and Joe, lifelong friends, lifelong fans, bringing you fan-driven sports talk the way real fans do. No overpaid experts, no scripted analysis, just honest takes on the game's players and the big stories shaping sports right now.
We want you to be a part of it too. Thank you for joining us. Please drop your comments, questions, your takes. We'll read them all and bring them into future shows. Please hit like, subscribe, and join us every week for free on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, or wherever you listen. Happy Monday, Joseph.
It's a happy Monday. I hope everyone out there, if it's appropriate for you, had a happy Easter. Mine was pretty low key. We were going to have an extravagant one, but decided not to. So there you go. There's my Easter pun for the day.
Oh, I like it.
Extravagant. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, during the egg dyeing process, I accidentally swallowed some of the red. And I'll be honest with you, for a while there, I think I died inside.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't look like it. You looked fine.
Thank you. Well, I know that. Thank you very much. Listen, it was a big weekend, a lot going on. Obviously, we know what took, center stage yesterday. Yesterday was the women's final championship game. And then, of course, Saturday was the Final Four. So it was a great weekend of basketball. Matter of fact, speaking of basketball, we've gotten a lot of feedback on having Teddy on. Teddy's our local free, expert on basketball. He should be paid for this because his knowledge is incredible. So I'm going to go ahead and invite him on. And then we'll get started talking about this weekend's basketball and what we can expect tonight.
That
so
sounds
in the championship
like a plan.
game, Michigan, UConn.
Yeah. Dusty May and Dan Hurley.
Ooh.
I can't wait.
There he is. May.
How's it going, guys?
You look great,
Teddy. Well, come on, Jim. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. Hope all's well.
All is more than well. We're talking hoops, so we've got to be well with that. And obviously this weekend with the great Final Four on Saturday, and of course the women's championship yesterday, which we will definitely talk about. Wow, I was pretty shocked with that one. And then of course tonight's championship game. Probably after watching everyone play, probably the best two teams. Duke might argue that, but I'd say certainly Michigan deserves to be in there. So without further ado, how about a quick recap of what happened this weekend on Saturday? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought the Illinois UConn game was pretty good throughout most of it. I think UConn deserved the win. Obviously, they pulled it out. What a shot. But I think I was very disappointed in the Arizona Michigan game. I thought that was going to be, the game of the decade, literally. Based off how both teams kind of came into the tournament, how they looked, during the tournament. I thought Arizona should have put up a lot more, better of a fight than what they did. I was very disappointed in that. And Arizona was my team. I bet on Arizona. I was going down with the ship. Me and Jim both had Arizona. But yeah, very disappointed. But Michigan,
me too.
Michigan looked really good. They deserved to win that game. They shot the ball really well, which when Michigan can do that, and Elliott didn't really score the ball that well, but when you can play make like that, Michigan's very, very hard to beat. But I think it's going to be a really good game, Michigan, UConn. I'm looking forward to it. Very excited for it.
Me too. What do you think, Joe?
Well, I think a few things, and the one I think about kind of the most because it was so recently is out of a 41-person pool I've been playing for many years. I was actually a very rare occurrence in the first place. And all I had to have happen was Arizona win that game, and I was $1,025 richer. And it was, literally, I think by the 5-minute into the game mark, I canceled all my plans on what I was going to do with that money. It was 10-1 before I even cracked my first Diet Coke. And it didn't get any better than that. I think they cut it to 5 or something, miraculously at some point during the game. But
that was horrible.
Even that felt like it was just a temporary, it's like, literally putting a Band-Aid, on a severed leg. It was unbelievably disappointing on how Arizona played.
There's only one little piece of good news there for you, Joe. You didn't already spend the money.
Not technically. I did have to make some phone calls, at halftime. But yeah, no, it was aside from that, of course, we only wager for fun here in Georgia. But just the whole way the game looked. Michigan has, I think Michigan has beaten everyone, at least on average, in the whole tournament by 20 plus. I just didn't think Arizona would be one of those teams. And I'm not taking anything away from Michigan. The fact that Kudo at one point had 9, he was 2 for 9, but somehow dominating the game at his position. I don't know. It was really just hard to watch, quite frankly.
It was weird.
From Arizona.
I saw a thing where Dusty May was talking about in a post interview that Ellie Cadeau was purposely missing his shots off the backboard to kind of pass to Adimara instead of like throwing lobs and stuff. So I thought that was really smart. It kind of sounds on paper wouldn't really work, but obviously it worked during that game because Adimara looked absolutely dominant. And I think he's going to give
100%.
Terrace Reed some problems in this game because Terrace Reed is pretty much the heart and soul of this UConn team, and he's only really 6'9", 6'10", and Adimara is going to have a lot of size and a lot of length on him as well. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out, but it's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to it.
That's what came to mind for me is just every time UConn came down the floor, Michigan was like, okay, what you got? What you got? Their defense was swarming, and they made Arizona look terrible throughout the night. So I credit Michigan's defense winning that ball game. Plus, every game they played in this entire tournament, they put up 95, 91, 92. A lot of that's for turnovers.
Scores, man, they are.
Yeah. It's it was a dominant performance. And to your point, Teddy, I think Elliot Cadeau, if someone did say from 17 feet, I want you to hit it off the backboard, making it look like a shot, but it's really a pass, he could do it. That guy, even in North Carolina, but he is an elite passer, man. I love watching Elliot Cadeau play. I was a little hurt when he left North Carolina for Michigan. I don't blame him, actually, under the circumstances. But man, he's fun to watch, man. There's no question about it. So, what more to say about those games? Any final comments before we move on to tonight?
Mm-hmm.
No, looks good. What? Let's talk about tonight. So, what happens?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very close game, or I guess really there's only, I don't know, for the most part, but I think there's really only two ways this game ends. I think either Michigan wins by a lot of points. I think the spread line I think was 7.5 last time I checked.
It's gone up,
but I think it was 6.5. That's when it opened. I'm pretty sure it's at 7.5. I could be wrong, but last time I checked. But I think Michigan beats them by like 20, or I think UConn goes and wins this game by like 2 or 3 points. I think somehow they pull it out. UConn in the Natty, I think, is 6-0, and I think Michigan in the Natty is 1-6. Historically, UConn's got some pull on their side, but obviously this Michigan team is a lot different compared to the previous teams that have played in the Natty, and same for UConn. But once again, I think it's going to be either a nail biter or Michigan just comes out and beats the crap out of them. But I hope it's going to be a good game. I hope it's better than the Arizona-Michigan game for sure. But I'm going to take Michigan to win this game.
What do you got, Jim?
Well, I like Dusty May, and I like Michigan's defense, so I'm going to take Michigan. And I thought it was interesting that their shooting percentage was on fire against Arizona. So I know I was talking about the defense and everything, but they were lights out shooting the ball as well, except for Elliott because he was really passing the ball. But Michigan's Dusty May did the same thing that he did when he led Florida Atlantic in 2023 to the Final Four at Energy Stadium. He took them outdoors to shoot outdoors to get some depth perception for playing inside of a big arena, big football stadium for that matter. And he did the same thing just the other day in Ann Arbor. I guess they got a break and they had a really, really nice day. He took them all inside the big house and they went out there and look what that did for them. They really did shoot the ball extremely well. So I'm looking at Dusty May getting the championship tonight because also they're 1-6 in their history, and UConn is what
They're
6
undefeated.
and 0 in a championship
Yeah,
game.
they're undefeated. I mean,
It can't keep going that way. It's got to change. And hasn't this been one of the maddest March Madnesses we've seen in a long time? So why not Michigan?
I agree.
when you've been destroying every team you've played, including good ones, well, I mean, I don't think that's a stretch. They've got to be favored. I mean, hey, listen, they got out rebounded by Arizona, by the way. So it's not out of the question. But listen, when you have here's my prediction. I really wonder if Lindenborg's going to play. I know he's going to play. If he's going to be able to be effective and play well. They were without him a lot, most of that first half, maybe even part of the second half, and still had no problem. If you let Mara, get 26 points, and you let Cadeau have 10 assists, and you do that, you'll be out of this game. I don't care if you're UConn or the LA Lakers. I mean, it's going to be hard to beat them, man. I don't know if Arizona has the horses, the dogs, to neutralize Michigan's offense. So I think write it down. If Michigan scores 77, they win.
Yeah, I agree. Well, also, too,
And their defense looks good too.
They're a very deep team as well. They can bring
another thing.
4 or 5 dudes off the bench. Roddy Gale, I think, is a really good player. He'll be a starter for them next year. LJ Cason tore his ACL, but even with that, they can bring in, like I said, 3 or 4 guys who can give them really quality minutes. And UConn doesn't really necessarily have that same. They have maybe a guy or two who, in my opinion, could be, a deal break or a make or break for the game. But I mean, when you got depth, you've got length. You can shoot the ball most of the time. Michigan is very scary to play, and I really like them tonight against UConn. I think they're gonna beat them.
Yeah, and by the way, Mara, I mean, I kind of perceive him as an offensive center. He's a good defender down there too.
Yes.
So he can neutralize Reed very easily, just from his height point of view. I also got to make a comment on everything. I say everything. I mean, I'm just reading, tweet after tweet after tweet about how Michigan has, if they win tonight, they would have destroyed both college football and college basketball. One player for Michigan was on Michigan last year. They have basically built this team through the portal. Is it legal? Absolutely. They're kind of catching, fire from a lot of people. I've seen memes. I've seen a whole concept. I've seen a bunch of things with each team's logo, Arizona's logo, Huskies logo, Michigan's logo, and how many starters they have on their team, 2 years ago. And I mean, there isn't one really from Michigan other than, Elliot Cadeau, the only one from 2 years ago. And he came from North Carolina, as we know. So they've basically put together a transfer portal team. Do I care? Am I going to root for, UConn because, they've got 3 players that have kind of organically been grown through that team? Do you guys care?
I mean, that's just how the landscape is now. I mean, do I like it? I wouldn't say so. I think it kind of takes the fun and kind of takes the traditional aspect out of it. But with Trump's new executive order next year, I think it's going to change a little bit. But, I do enjoy the transfer portal season, I guess. I enjoy watching what goes on, but I think it's just bad for the sport. I think it kind of makes kids not really, play for the coach, play for the program, play for, the name on the jersey. I think it's just more of like a money grab at this rate. But I mean, yeah, I think it's just kind of taken away from the traditional stuff, but that's just the name of the game. And I mean, it's just how the game is trending towards. So I mean, it's
legal.
It's hard to
heard,
see, but it's just the way it is now.
I heard somebody say that somebody, from the, the older generation say something very similar. They just said, the difference with today's generation of fans is they're fans of the players, not the program. as much. And, that's got to be true when you have turnover. Now, UK, they did it for years with one and dones. So you didn't really get to know the players very well either. Not comparison on how it's done, but the transfer portal has changed the game for sure. To be honest with you, at least in football, I think the way to do it is you do it both ways. I think Miami, everyone knows I'm a Miami fan, but you know what? Cristobal's doing a perfect job of recruiting top 10 classes, 5 classes, and ending up top 10 in the portal transfers as well. If you can do it both ways, it's great. Basketball, smaller rosters, it arguably might even be easier to do. So anyways, we'll see what happens tonight. So we got our predictions in. Before we move on, let's stay on men's basketball. Just a couple quick comments on UNC's final. Sounds like it's official. The hire of Mike Malone. Teddy, you follow the NBA probably better than anyone. I know this guy won a championship a couple years ago with Denver. I know he was there 7 years. I know him and the GM had, a lot of clashes on, how the future of the team should be built. And that probably led a little bit to his firing possibly. But what do you got on Michael Malone?
Yeah, I think Michael Malone is probably one of the best NBA options UNC probably could have gotten at this time. I think they did swing and miss on a lot of dudes. I saw a thing that was pretty, I guess, a little alarming for me, but the Bulls just fired their GM and I think their vice president, or two super high up executives for the Bulls. So maybe Billy Donovan had a little bit to do with that. I thought that was pretty like random and funny to me. But
That
yeah,
is
Mike,
that is interesting timing.
it was kind of weird they got fired today. But I think once again, I think Mike Malone, he had a really good, NBA tenure. Obviously, he won a ring with the Nuggets, and he's coached a lot of really good players. I think he knows what he's doing. I thought Scott Drew kind of had his name in the UNC drawing pool for a little bit, but I think Mike Malone personally is a better hire than Scott Drew. So, like I said, that's probably the best hire UNC probably could have gotten in this time and day. But also another fun fact: his daughter currently goes to UNC.
Yeah, she's a volleyball player there, right?
So she plays it's either volleyball or softball. It might be volleyball, but she maybe had something to do with it, or I mean, I'm sure she did. But I've been seeing a lot of people hesitant on, how is he going to handle the NIL and the recruiting, and I just think a lot of that is kind of baloney. I think he'll do fine there. I think he knows kind of what he's getting into. And if you're an NBA coach, I'm sure you can be a college basketball coach for a very good program like UNC. But I think it's a good hire. Probably the best hire they could have gotten, and I think he's going to do good things in Chapel Hill.
Malone wants to go there to make sure his daughter goes to class first,
Exactly.
and also that she doesn't go into the transfer portal.
That's right.
Yeah, he wants to keep.
Well,
Her.
it's funny.
Yeah.
The I guess I was going to say the importance of that. I don't know how important it is, but one thing about that, she's been there a couple of years, and he's apparently been on campus many times to watch her play. So he's very familiar with at least the school, if not maybe a little bit more of the basketball program. Just a couple interesting things. He has been labeled, and I've been reading about him, in the last hour before the podcast about, he's a very defensive minded coach. He's a player's coach. Players love him, apparently, in the NBA. And, the fact that there's a couple things out there saying, hey, with Jokic, his agent is Misko Rashnakadovic, who happens to be incredibly familiar and represents many top international prospects. Could that be a connection? I don't know, because when you look at some of the rosters of the teams in the, certainly in the Elite Eight, Sweet 16, those players seem to bring in a lot of, important minutes for these teams. So we'll see. I like it. It's the first time in literally in 3/4 of a century that UNC has gone outside of the family. I think it was time. I don't think there was just an obvious choice in the family. And some of the names that popped up, I'm like, thank goodness they didn't go that direction, man. Thank you, Stephen A. But
I agree.
anyways,
Also, too, I
yeah,
think it's very enticing from a recruiting aspect to have an NBA coach who was as successful as he was in the NBA to be able to coach a team. I would definitely like to, hear about that. Or if I was a recruiter, I would definitely want to, swing that way a little bit. But also too, hopefully he can keep most of the recruits because UNC does have a very good recruiting class come in. I saw Derek Dixon just hit the portal. Their starting shooting guard, I think, or point guard, I think,
Yeah, I saw that.
a couple hours ago. But if that's the only guy that leaves, that's pretty freaking good. So
Hey,
hopefully they can keep
listen,
their main class and their guys, and I think UNC will be trending upwards here in the.
I do too. He's only 54. I mean, he could be there
Yeah,
for
he's young.
a while, which hopefully he is. I guess the interview process and the vetting process would find out how soon he wants to get back to the NBA. He spent last year as an analyst after getting fired. I don't think he got fired for any cause or anything. Well, I know he didn't. He got fired because there was a big disagreement on future of how we're going to build this or keep this Denver team going. But having said that, in closing, I love the fact that when I asked, is North Carolina going to maintain, their kind of program traits like, we want to run, we want a fast break. He said, absolutely. That's how you fast break with good defense. He's got a ton of defensive sayings, no D, no play. I think that's what North Carolina needs right now. We get killed by teams from the 3-point line, and our defense sucks and has sucked for years. So I think it's a great hire. And who better to manage today's? We were just talking about Michigan. Who better to manage today's college basketball world than a pro who's been doing it with the pros? Because it's almost like professional ball at this point. Good. Well, I like to hire. We'll see what happens. And then finally, in basketball world, I watched most of it yesterday. The women's final. Wow. Don't think a lot of people saw that coming.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the women's scene. Obviously, I thought UConn was going to be the favorite. Obviously, I know South Carolina, UCLA are both great teams, but UCLA looked great. I think I watched a quarter and a half or a couple quarters with my dad yesterday. They look good. They've got Lauren Betts. Hopefully, I didn't butcher that name, but she's 6'8" center in college in women's college basketball is pretty darn big. They've got a lot of seniors on that team. They're very experienced, and based off what I saw, but they looked really, really good. I was pretty disappointed in South Carolina in a way too, where I thought they would kind of show a little bit more of a fight just based off how good they are. But kudos to UCLA, and they got it done.
Yeah. I mean, Lauren Betts is a great story. She, I didn't really understand the full story, but after the game on the court post-game interview, they were talking about her and she was in tears and her struggles. Apparently she quit basketball just a couple of years ago for just anxiety and depression, pressure to live up to, when you're 6'7" and a woman basketball player, there's probably a lot of pressure on you to live up to, a certain higher profile that people are looking for. And she admits it really almost made her quit the game, and she came back obviously from it. Just the whole story on the coach, herself, Corey Close. What a class act. She was an assistant way back when John Wooden was there. She used to bring him his favorite ice cream and pick his brain for basketball. And every time she would ask him for a specific example of what would you do here in this situation, he would never answer. And he says, you do that yourself. That's going to be who you are. After every game, they clean up the locker room, take all the bottles and cans, every empty bottle and can. They load them up into a bag. When they get them back to UCLA, they take them and they recycle them, get the 5 cents. And they have done things like buy Tijuana basketball uniforms for the Tijuana kids and stuff like that. Class act all the way. Can't find one thing anyone has anything bad to say about her. So good for her. 15 years she's been, the coach and trying to win this thing. So personally, I'm just glad it wasn't UConn. I'm glad it wasn't South Carolina. I'm glad it wasn't Baylor. It was nice, even though I'm not a big UCLA fan per se. It was nice to see someone else win this thing.
Agreed.
It's a second personal story this year. It wasn't that long ago. We had a Olympic figure skater in women's with personal issues, quitting the sport and then coming back.
Yeah.
The name is off the top of my head right now, but you know who I'm talking about, gold medal winner. So
yeah,
wish her the best.
Yeah.
Wish her the best. I love comeback stories.
The best.
Listen, I don't follow women's basketball probably as much as I should, or certainly is not as much as the men's, but I keep my eye on it for sure. To see a Dawn Staley team get thoroughly abused, that was kind of a shocker. They shot 29% from the floor. Whoa, that was a big shocker to me. But
they spent it all beating UConn.
Yeah, hey, we'll see. But in closing, that team, 4 of those starters could have easily transferred and been the star for a bunch of other teams in college basketball. They stuck around to really help. That says a lot to help Corey Close, win this thing. So good for that team. It was truly a team win in the making. So, all right, well, that's good. So what we are going to have another podcast later on this week, and we're going to have our our expert on that podcast, because we're going to talk about the Masters. The Masters will be coming up. So if you're wondering why we're not talking golf this week, we are. And Teddy will be back, because Teddy, more than anyone I know, knows a lot about not just, the Masters itself and all of that, but, specifically the players and who has the best shot this year and who's playing great and all that. Obviously, the TPC call was a good one. And thanks for all the comments on that and the feedback. But there's another sport going on right now with another ball. It's called baseball. And, we're kind of in the beginning of a long 162 here. But there's been some things going on, Jim, this year that seem to be just kind of mind-boggling. What happened last night that might have been not only historic, but never to be repeated again?
I don't know if it's going to be repeated again, but there should be a warrant out for the player's arrest.
On arrest?
Yeah, I know.
So he did something illegal?
Yeah. He robbed 3 home runs in one game.
Wait, what do you mean he robbed 3 home runs? What, he reached over the wall kind of thing?
And you'll like his first name. His name is Joe.
Well, he's got to be good already. I mean, probably handsome too, right?
Yep. Joe Adell robbed 3 home runs against the Seattle Mariners last night for the Angels. And the Angels ended up winning the game 1-0. 3 home runs. So I hope they took him out today for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah. Major League history. That's the first time that has ever happened.
Wow.
Well, I can believe it, because that's rare. That's like one of those things where, one fan catches 2 foul balls in the same game. I think there was one fan who caught 3 or something. Not an empty stadium either, But speaking of empty stadiums, boy, the Oakland A's, man, why are the Oakland A's, so terrible? Our batting is like middle of the pack, and our pitching, we're third from the bottom again with a 5.51 ERA. God, so frustrating.
You got to hear the magical words. Like the magical words of baseball season. Don't worry, it's early. Because last night they were down 10-9. Mm-hmm. They come up to the plate in the bottom of the 10th inning. They gave up a run to the Astros in the top of the 10th, down 10-9. And then Brent Rooker gets up with 2 guys on, sends it yard, walk off, bye-bye, and now the A's are 3-6. See, it's already getting better, Joe.
Same old story. We'll have these great rookies. We can't keep them. We can't pay for them. Now maybe we move to Vegas, the owner, who's a billionaire, by the way. So this isn't like Oakland, it doesn't have the money. They got the money. He just doesn't want to pay it, And that's back in the D'Angelo days with Baltimore and Steinbrenner, by the way. Everyone hated New York. Steinbrenner buying all these players. Well, D'Angelo was as wealthy as Steinbrenner. He just never spent the money. So don't blame Steinbrenner. Well, I blame the A's owner. He's terrible, man. But we'll see what happens. But anyways, hey, it's better to be 3-6 and 2-7. There's no question about that. But
that's for sure.
I mean, it's just.
I hear us talking about that when the football season starts too.
No.
But in football, because there's not as many games, 2-7, it's time to write it off for a lot of teams. But the other thing I wanted to mention too is I can still say, because I had to repeat myself on the last podcast. I said the first place Miami Marlins. Come on, we're from Miami. Doesn't that feel good to say anything? First place Miami.
Wait. Are you saying that they're still the first place?
They are still in first place after a nice comeback last night to beat the Yankees in the Bronx. Yes, they are. And it's really sad, though. I mean, I'm putting on, after the show today, I'm going to put on Van Halen and just put on Somebody Get Me a Doctor. Because the last time we said the Miami Dolphins were in first place was year 2000.
Unbelievable.
That's
way too long.
That's incredible. So, I can't remember what I was doing that long ago, quite frankly.
So, yep, that's, and there's some big games tonight. World Series rematch. And by the
Oh, yeah.
way, I do want to remind our viewers, please look up Joe Adell, 3 home runs robbed last night, and watch the last catch that he made. He went over the wall, and they had to review it and see, they had to review to see if the ball was still in his glove. It's incredible. 3 of them.
Crazy.
So
Wow.
we got the A's win last night too. If you got time to check that out, that was amazing.
Yeah, I
So
mean, typical A's. We have to win 12-11. I mean, come on, pitching.
yeah,
Hey,
take it while you can get it.
listen, the Marlins are batting 276, third in all of major leagues. If they can keep those bats that hot, their pitching, is middle of the pack. I think their pitching will come around, probably even be better. So, so far so good. Let's see. The usual suspects are, where they're supposed to be so far, 10 games in, whatever it is. So we'll see. But hey, I'm a huge, huge baseball fan as the sport itself. That's how you and I met back in, God, I don't know. We were in Little League, 8 years, 9 years old, or whatever we were. It's great.
Yep.
But no, I love baseball, man. I'll be looking forward to it, especially as it starts getting warmer. So we'll have a podcast here, like I said, on Wednesday for the Masters. Teddy, tell everybody where they can follow you or find your stuff.
Yeah, it's just my name, Teddy Toth, Instagram and TikTok. I post some stuff on there. But looking forward to Wednesday. Talk about my favorite thing ever. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. By the way, we're still looking for Masters tickets. We're not soliciting. We're not asking anyone to do anything. We're just saying, if something tragic happened and you have 2 tickets laying around, we'll take them. That's right, Jim. I only said 2. I didn't say who's going here. But anyways, we'll figure it out because they're only going for $4,000 for practice rounds. So, it's not like we can't afford them.
Well, we can get some of our research staff to hook us up too.
Yeah. Well, I've been lucky enough to go 4 times, twice from lottery, twice for paying, and it is worth, if you can cough up that kind of cash, but it's worth going however you can get tickets because it's definitely a bucket list thing for sure. Whether you go practice round or real rounds, it's all. And the weather is supposed to be really good this week. High 70s, no rain because I hate when it's like a washout on Friday and everything softens. I like when it's firm and Augusta really has its teeth. I like that. So.
Cold front just went through the eastern half of the country, so we should be good. I can't wait. This is a great week, man.
Yeah. Well, my azaleas, I try to kill them every year. I don't do anything to them, and they're blooming like crazy. I can't imagine, what theirs are looking like right now. They put ice on the roots if they start to bloom too early. They put heaters out there if they're too late. They like it to be in full display. So it's great. Well, that's cool.
Tradition like no other.
A tradition like no other, as we pictured Tiger's car on its side. If you haven't heard that,
I couldn't believe that
on Magnolia Lane. Yeah, there it is, a Range Rover sitting on its side. Well, hey, that's it for this episode of the Undrafted Armchair Quarterbacks with Jim and Joe and Teddy. Thanks for checking us out and hanging with us for some real fan-driven sports talk.
And don't forget, your comments are a part of our show. Please drop them below, subscribe, like, and join us every week for free right here on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok. And thank you, Teddy. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Thanks
Enjoy the game.
again for having me. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. Glad to have you, and let's watch hopefully a good game tonight. See you then. Take care. Till next time. See you later.